Hi everybody, welcome back to Quarantine Kitchen. I am so sorry about the noise. They're apparently building a new city outside my window. And I'm also currently missing 2 windows and a door to my apartment. That's fun. Anyway, on to more important things. Today we are going to be making a chicken za'atar pasta. Za'atar is a Middle Eastern flavoring that's made with a combination of, I believe it is pine nuts, herbs. It's a very unique seasoning. If you don't have it on hand, which I imagine most of my viewers will not, this recipe that I'm making can be used with any herb, really. If you want to do an oregano pasta, if you want to do a spicy paprika pasta, if you want to do any of that, the recipe isn't going to change. It's still the same formula. The only thing you're going to be replacing is the herbs and spices. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to divide this recipe into 3 different parts. The first one is going to be how to marinate the chicken. Marinate the chicken with a marinade. Because it's going to have to sit in a resealable bag or a plastic container for at least 2 hours, but the best results come when you marinate it for 4 to 6 or longer to get the full flavor of the herbs that we're going to put in. So, and then after that, I'm going to show you how to prepare the raw ingredients for the pasta, and we're going to start cooking, and then obviously the third step will be combining everything together to make this delicious meal. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the things that we're going to need today totally depend on what size of portions you're going to be making. I am cooking for 1 person to make 2 servings. I'll eat it 2 days in a row. So for me, I have 1.5 chicken breasts. I'm actually only going to use 2 of the chicken breasts in the pasta. The third half of chicken breast, I'm going to save for an additional meal later in the week. So that's how I'm going to do it. So you need your chicken, obviously. Then the next thing you're going to need is an olive oil. I have a combination of soy and olive oil. And I'm also going to use a margarine in this to get kind of that buttery flavor that I like on my pasta. I recommend extra virgin olive oil because it has the most flavor. And in the Middle East, those delicious flavors that we think of are definitely based on that rich olive and the powerful seasonings that they use. So you're going to need your chicken, your olive oil. We're also going to use the juice of 3 limes for our marinade, and we will also use this marinade in the pasta itself. And I'll come back to that in just a minute. You're also obviously going to need za'atar, which is the season, so that you can see it. It's kind of a green seasoning. It doesn't have the ingredients on this because I go out at the bulk Whole Foods market. And then I'm also going to be using this lemon herb seasoning to give a little extra pop to the chicken and the pasta to bring all those flavors together so it's not one-sided one way or the other. You're going to need black pepper, salt, which you can't see because it's behind everything, salt, garlic, and that's it. I need to get my measuring cup. And you can check out the pajama bottoms we're working with today. It's very, very warm, so we're in our shorts today. And that's okay. I found this at the, I have to tell you. I found this at the supermarket the other day, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. It's a glass, obviously. But if you look, it's also a measuring cup. Flour, sugar, milliliters, cup. Shikara is, its cup is what we would call like a teacup or something like that. When you measure a half cup of something, that's what you would use. Cocoa powder, and it's just the most awesome thing. So I was so happy because, as you've known, if you've watched any of my other quarantine episode videos, you will see that I have been using a coffee cup. And though my measurements have been relatively accurate, I have no doubt about that, It's because I didn't own a measuring cup, and this one is perfect for that minimalist cooker like myself because it's only one. It'll do everything. Okay, anyway, back to the cooking here. I'm going to start by getting a 1/4 cup of my lime juice. So, little trick to juicing a lime if you do not have a juicer. If you beat up the lime a little bit before you cut it open, you will get more of the juice out. We're going to try to avoid the seeds because we are going to use this marinade in the pasta itself as well, making sure that we're cooking it to a high temperature because it is touching raw meat. If you are interested in doing this but you are vegan and you don't, so that you can see my face as well. If you're interested in doing this as a vegan or a vegetarian and you don't want to use chicken, an excellent meat substitute for this would be hearts of palm. I don't recommend tofu because it's going to absorb too much of that flavor or it's going to be too bland. So this is one time I wouldn't recommend tofu. You could use tempeh. You could use a chicken soy protein, but I think the best substitute for this would be that palmito, the hearts of palm, that you can find canned. Okay, so now that I've beaten up my limes, we are going to cut the limes in half, and I'm probably going to jump between my face and the counter because one of my subscribers asked to see more of my face in my videos, so I'm going to oblige. Make sure that you've washed your hands really well, especially when touching produce, because we are living in an epidemic. So here's the 1/4 cup of my awesome cup, and we're literally just going to squeeze the juice in there. If you don't have a juicer, I'm going to show you another handy little trick. I don't see very many seeds in this, which is strange. So, you can also use a pair of tongs and put the lime in between the tongs and squeeze the tongs together. That also works really well. I'm going to be kind of killing this with a spoon as well because I really want all the juice out of those limes. Okay. In case you don't know, there is a trash can on the floor over here. I'm not just throwing my trash on the floor. I realized that in the last video that that's kind of what it looked like, that it's like, but my trash can is over here on the floor. It's a little itty bitty thing. I think we'll only need 2 limes for this recipe instead of the 3 that I have, which is fine. Because I may use the other one when I actually cook the pasta because we're going to be adding bell pepper and onion and a gluten-free pasta that I'm going to introduce you to. This one does come from a package, so I am not making the pasta from scratch today. Sorry for the disappointment there. While I'm juicing this. I guess I could do it this way. You can see me and the juice. This angle. I don't know. As always, talking to myself while juicing a lime. I think the collard greens that I used in my smoothie today were bad. They smell in the smoothie. Usually freezing takes out the smell. Was not the case this time. It was very pungent. Had to use a lime. Had to use a lime to counteract that flavor. It's not fun. I feel like I should have topics. Like I should have a rolling screen in front of me of things to talk about while preparing a meal. Okay, so I am only going to need 2 limes for this. I'm looking at where we're at, assuming that my measuring cup is correct. And I think it is close enough anyway, because we're also going to add in the oil to this. Okay. So we have actually about 1/3 of a cup. About 1/3 cup of lemon juice. So now I'm going to put my oil into the marinade so that you can see. I'm going to try to eliminate the oil. I don't want to use this much oil. Now, oil is necessary. That's a lot of oil. Okay, I'm going to use that much olive, and then I'm going to put a dollop of margarine into... I know, does anyone else film in their pajamas? Because I'm totally in the pajama mode. It's part of the fun of Quarantine Kitchen. And after the quarantine is lifted, I still maintain that I will be cooking in my pajamas because that's how the average person at home cooks. And I'm not afraid to admit that. I don't really need to mix it up yet, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to. Ugh. Okay, so now I have that looks horrible, but margarine is not the best for a marinade. I need to say that. I'm thinking ahead that I want the margarine in the marinade for the pasta, not necessarily for the chicken. So for anybody who's out there calling me out on putting margarine in a marinade, there's a reason for this because I'm thinking 2 steps ahead. And part of the point of Quarantine Kitchen is to use what you currently have available and to reduce waste. So, anyway, now we're going to add the seasonings to this marinade before we put it into the chicken. So, we have our olive oil, we have the lemon juice. We're now going to do the Za'atar. Put things away. I'm now going to do the Za'atar and the lemon herbs. I love playing with seasonings. They smell so good to me. Moving the camera. I'm trying to figure out camera angles. I'm thinking of filming it from 2 different angles so that you can see my face and you can see what I'm doing on the counter. I'm also not crazy about the reflection behind me, but really what I look like. So, believe it or not, I'm a real human. Oh, that smells so good. About 1.5 tablespoons of the lemon herb, and then I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of the Za'atar in the marinade as well. What are you guys doing to keep busy? Are you staying entertained? I was so bored yesterday I pulled out another one of my 2,000-piece puzzles. I was on my internet. This week has been a week, man. Like I said, at the moment, I'm missing 2 windows and a door to my apartment. I had the termite infection that I mentioned in the last episode. Yesterday, my internet was out. My internet was out for like almost 2 days, and just I can do it. I will make it through quarantine. But black pepper. There's no particular amount of this. I'm just kind of putting it in for flavor. A lot of my recipes, you'll see that my seasoning is 100% up to the maker. That's part of the art of cooking with seasonings. I mean, big ingredients, sure, but just regular seasonings, it's kind of up to you. I'm adding a little bit of salt. I don't want to put too much in because lime is actually a fantastic salt substitute. If you didn't know that, now you do. I was on a reduced sodium diet for a couple of years, and I would use lime zest, lime juice, instead of salt to reduce the sodium. I'm going to add about 1 teaspoon of garlic. I don't want the garlic. I want the garlic to be a subtle flavor, not the overwhelming flavor of the marinade. So that's it for the seasonings. So now I'm going to pan down, so that you can see the mixing of the marinade. It's going to turn into a sludge. And then we're going to pour this into the bag with the chicken, reseal the chicken, and leave it in the fridge for the next about 4 hours is the plan. Sorry about that. Just realized as I looked up that my computer was about to die, so I had to go and get my charger. Okay, so here we are making the marinade. And I'm going to put it, I may add a little water to this. Oh, it smells so good. This pasta is going to be so delicious. delicious looking sludge that I do think I'm going to add just a tad bit of water to thin it out and make sure that it covers all of the chicken. That's better. Marinades should be, in general, a little runny. Otherwise, they become more of a dry rub, and it's not going to soak into the kitchen the entire way. And I really want that to be the case. Because if I'm going to eat chicken once a week, I want it to be very flavorful. I can't eat other meats. I'm actually mostly vegetarian at this moment. Flexitarian, I think is the proper term. And the reason for that being is I'm allergic to pork and I'm allergic to fish. And I didn't know that until relatively recently. Make sure you have the bag resealed. Otherwise, when you do the squishy motion coming up next, you're going to find that you have squishy marinade all over your counter. So now, I just poured it into the bag with the chicken. I'm sure you saw that. I'm going to make sure that the chicken is totally covered in it, all 3 pieces. Remember, if you're making more than what I'm making, if you're going to make that family-size meal with 4 chicken breasts, 6 chicken breasts, make sure you double or quadruple the recipe as necessary. So this will work for about 2 normal-sized chicken breasts. I'm only doing 1.5, so I'm going to have extra marinade left over. So my brain stopped. Make sure that if you're doing 2 chicken breasts, you follow this recipe. If you're making 4, double the recipe. If you're making 6, triple the recipe so that you have enough marinade for both the chicken and the pasta. So that is it for the first part. I'm now going to put this into the fridge and I'm going to leave it there and go about my day. And then when we get closer, I will help you prep the ingredients for the pasta and we'll go through cooking the pasta and all that. So I will see you in a couple of hours when the marinade is ready. All right, welcome back everybody. The marinade is ready. So we are going to get started with the actual putting the pasta together. So let me show you kind of what we're doing with that. So put your pot of water on to boil now. If you want to put oil in the water, go ahead. If you're going to salt the water, go ahead and do that now. And while that's boiling, we'll go ahead and measure out the pasta and we'll get everything else ready to go for that. So let me show you what we're kind of working with. I'm going to be using gluten-free pasta because I am gluten-free. I'm using the Zero Gluten Spaghetti by Urbano. You can use any gluten-free pasta for this. If you don't want to use spaghetti, the bow tie pasta is very popular. You can use macaroni noodles. You can use regular pasta. It's totally up to you. I'm going to be using about 200 grams of pasta for the 2 portions because we overeat pasta. And yeah. There we go. And then when the water is ready, I will put that in there. So we'll go ahead and set that to the side. Now, for the actual ingredients of the pasta, I'm going to be using some more of my frozen onion. I'm going to be using 1 bell pepper. Why are they long and skinny? I don't know, but it is a bell pepper nonetheless. So I will be using a long bell pepper, probably a little bit more of the margarine, some more of the garlic, the same things that went into the marinade. Some more of the Za'atar, and the lime that I squished up earlier and didn't use. So the only things that really need to be prepared here is the pepper and the lime. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that up now. And I'm going to turn the camera so you can see me instead of my waist. I'm just going to dice the pepper, so I'll show you that in just a minute. And I'm going to be using the red pepper for this. Find which one is squishier. We're going to go with this one. The other 2 are going to go back in the fridge for the recipes. I'm going to see if I can tilt this just... Maybe if I stand further away. Still working with the camera angle, guys. See if I can... Aha! There we go. That's a little better. So that you can see what I'm doing as well as see my face. That's more entertaining. So I'm going to chop and seed the pepper. I said chop. I think dice is actually the right word. And then I'm going to saute that with the onions. And then we're also going to add the chicken to that as well. So, I'm still missing windows and a door from my apartment, in case you were concerned. That hasn't changed in the last 6 hours and will not change until tomorrow morning. So I get to miss windows in the meantime. It's fun. Rediscovered technology with a good friend of mine. I forget that I can Skype or Facebook Messenger or whatever. So that was fun. That's what I did today. So if you're not entertained by watching me dice a pepper, for the record, don't judge my knife skills. I did not go to culinary school. I know there is a right way to dice things, there's a wrong way to dice things, and I can guarantee you I'm doing it the wrong way. But the food I make is edible. In my opinion, it is delicious. And I haven't cut myself in a while, so it works. I am not a chef. I was a professional cook for a 4-year period of time. I do know how to cook from cooking for a family, but I've never been to culinary school. All the stuff that I'm quote-unquote teaching you is stuff I've either learned throughout my life or I've learned from watching, like, Hell's Kitchen, Gordon Ramsay, that sort of thing. So don't try to compare me. I'm not a professional chef. And I wouldn't be even if I wanted to be, or even if I could be. They work very, very, very long hours, and it's not fun when you have to do it. I do it as a hobby. So, you never realize how long it takes to chop a pepper until you're on camera being watched while chopping a pepper. I feel like there's going to be music or something. Maybe I'll fast forward through this part so that you don't have to sit here and watch me literally chop a pepper. So that, and then I'm going to slice the lime in half again. Well, not again, for the first time. So that I have the juice of the lime for when we get to the sauteing part. And then my water has just started to boil, so I'm going to go ahead and put my pasta in. The pasta takes 7 minutes to cook. But then I'm going to drain it and I'm going to shock it so that it stops cooking. So 7 minutes on the clock as I put my pasta in, and then we will saute, and I'm going to figure out how to record that for you. I'm not going to record it for you. That's what I've decided. But I'm going to show you what it looks like before and after, like I've done in the rest of the videos. So I'm going to put a little bit, it's a lot of it, but a little bit of margarine, and we're going to saute the onions and peppers first. Not fully cooked, just enough until they're fragrant. That means until you can smell them. And then I'm going to chop up the chicken and put that with the marinade into this. I'm going to add some more lime juice, a little more seasoning. I'll document these steps for you so that everything becomes out really flavorful. It's my onion, frozen, chopped, and then put in a jar. So, right now in the pan we have margarine. I was going to say carrots and peas. Sorry. We have margarine, onions, and peppers. Like I said, I'm going to saute this until it's fragrant, and then I'm going to chop up the chicken and add it, cook it until the chicken's done, and then I'm going to add, while it's cooking, I'm going to add the Za'atar, I'm going to add some more lime, some more garlic to spice it up. I'm also going to dump the entire package, including the marinade, into the pan. That's what's going to create the sauce for the pasta. And the extra lime juice is going to thin it out a little bit. Now, this is not a dish that we can taste until after it's cooked because the marinade was with raw chicken and the chicken is raw. So, anyway, enough of that. I'm going to saute the onions and peppers. I'll come back when I'm chopping up the chicken, and I'll show you the steps. Okay, the pasta is boiling. The onions and peppers are sauteing. So now we're going to dice up the chicken And then we're going to add everything to the pot, pan, whatever you want to call it, for the pasta, for everything to cook. Be careful handling raw chicken. Don't touch your face. Don't touch really anything. Wash your hands before and after handling this, and don't touch any other raw food in the process. Chicken, as with any raw meat, can be very, very dangerous. Salmonella is a thing, and most foodborne illnesses come from undercooked meat. So, I am going to dice up the chicken here. It's also not a bad idea to have a separate cutting board for meat versus vegetables, especially if you have a vegan living in your house. I'm the only person here, so I use the same cutting board, but I do sterilize and wash my cutting board thoroughly after using it, especially using it with raw meat. I'm just dicing the chicken. I don't know if you can really see that on camera. So it's nice and marinated. It's looking really good, actually. It looks like the lime juice did do exactly what it normally does, which is it starts to, like it does in a ceviche. I don't want to say cook because cook indicates heat, but it does. It starts to cook the outside of the chicken. So I am literally just dicing. Trying to do this quickly because I still have those peppers and onions that I need to stir, but I need to wash my hands before I touch that spoon. So I'm going to try to do it all at the same time. I would recommend that while you're doing this, turn the heat down on your oven so that your peppers and onions don't cook too quickly. So, okay, chicken is diced. I need to wash my hands quickly so I can touch the utensil. All right, chicken is chopped. I've stirred the peppers. They are ready for me to add everything to it. So before I touch this, I'm going to move the pot over here so that you can see it. Because I can't take you to my stove, I'll take the stove to you. So I'm going to add the chicken and the marinade to this pot. Now I can no longer taste anything that's in the pot until it's cooked. Because, as we discussed, raw meat is a dangerous thing. For my fellow meat eaters out there, you can like it all you want. It doesn't actually change anything. Okay. Then we're going to add the chicken. Now, I'm going to cook this until the chicken is thoroughly cooked and the sauce is boiling. The reason for that is because the marinade was a part of the raw chicken. Now, once it's cooked, then I can taste the sauce and adjust the seasonings as necessary. But in the meantime, that's what we're going to do. I will come back when it is all cooked to show you. Now, don't forget, while you're doing this, that you have pasta on the stove. Overcooked pasta is disgusting. So just remember, you're kind of multitasking here, and that's usually the way it works with cooking. That's one of the beauties of it, is it is a multitasking thing. So as you're cooking this, check on your pasta, pull it out when it's ready. It will probably be ready before this is finished. So when the pasta is ready, I'll come back and I'll show you what that looks like as well. My pasta is ready, so I'm going to pour it into the colander and shock it with cold water. That's going to stop the cooking process so that it doesn't overcook. To test your pasta, please don't throw a noodle against the wall. Take a noodle out and actually bite into it, especially with gluten-free pasta. It doesn't cook the same way as normal spaghetti does. So taste it. That's what it's for. So I'm going to shock my pasta, and I needed to add water to my pasta sauce, the chicken mixture that we have on the stove. If you need to do that with yours, fill the bag that had the marinade with water so that you still have a seasoning to it. Or you can, as I'm going to in just a minute, I'm also going to add another lime, probably another tablespoon-ish of Za'atar, and some more garlic. So I probably won't do that on camera, but that's what I'm going to add to mine to season it, to make sure I have that well-rounded seasoning, and so that the sauce is a little thinner so it can cover everything. You're also welcome to add more butter if you want more of that oily to the pasta. I don't, but if you want more of that oily, buttery texture to the pasta, go ahead and add more oil to it while it's cooking now. You should be able to tell by looking at it if and what kind of more ingredients it needs. So I'm going to shock my pasta and I will come back before I mix it all together. So, #real. Do you remember me telling you at the beginning of the video that I was going to save one of the portions of chicken breast? And if anybody was watching as I cut up the chicken breast, you would have seen that I did in fact cut up all 3 portions and put it in my pasta. Just let you know, totally real here. That's what happens in real life, so that's what we're doing. I'm waiting for everything to cook right now. The pasta is ready to go. The sauce/chicken mixture is currently simmering. The chicken is fully cooked, so now I'm just letting it simmer and letting the seasonings really do their job. I added another lime, not a lemon, another tablespoon of Za'atar, and a little bit of garlic. So it's all there and it's all simmering now, letting the sauce thicken up just a little bit, thicken up. It's thin now, I want it thicker. So I'm letting it do that, and then when that's finished, I will come back on camera and I'll show you how to mix in the pasta so that it's seasoned, and then we'll cook it for just a few more minutes to give everything a chance to be nicely heated, and then we'll portion and serve. Pasta's cooked, sauce is ready, so we're going to combine it. This is going to be, as you can tell, there's more sauce than there is to pasta, but I don't think that's going to be a problem, especially if you're like me and I like a saucy pasta. So we're going to combine the two. If I need to at some point, I can always add more pasta. I'd rather have more sauce and not enough pasta than the other way around. But I actually think this is going to be fine. Oh yeah, this will be fine. There's not much to say here. It smells so good. And I know for a fact that it tastes good because I sampled it just a moment ago. So it is going to be saucy. If you wanted to add cornstarch to thicken up the sauce, you totally could. If you wanted to make this in a slow cooker to thicken up the sauce, you could. I don't mind a thinner sauce. I don't have anything else to say. Just make sure that you have all the seasonings and all that chicken blended in there. And there we go. So now it's all mixed together. So all that's left is to plate it. And there we have a beautiful plate of chicken Za'atar pasta. Happy cooking, everybody.